Enduro update, but first we got a short little update on the race car. I found this and got it from a member of a online Facebook page, and then we painted it up here real good. And I seen this color scheme on a YouTube video a guy had, and I kind of liked it, so I replicated that. That's not my original idea, but came up with that. And these are pretty rare, kind of expensive, but I got a good deal on this one. And so we're going to put that on the car just for some fun. This is the one that we had on it there, I believe. But we're going to put that one on just for a little bragging rights. It's definitely not a high output motor. We got all kind of stuff done to it. It's a real hodgepodge of parts, but we're going to put that on there just because it looks kind of cool. Maybe to scare the competition if anybody takes a look. So over here we got the Enduro, and there's a little bit of a story. And unfortunately, yep, we had to get the big red wrench out, and we had to torch those bolts off. The one twisted off, and then the other one it stripped. So we had to get the torch out and torch that off. And then we had some trouble with, we'll try and get down in here, with that bracket right there. The head of the bolt rounded off, and there's no way to get it out, so we used the torch to torch that off. And what had happened, I'll show you. What happened was I couldn't get the heat shield off because there's a bolt down there that the head rounded off on. There's hardly any way to get your hand in there. This one here was pretty sweet. It broke away from the heat shield. And this one here, we got that bolt out, but of course you can see the heat shield's rotted there. And this one here we could get out, so that wasn't a problem. And I tried pulling this back. Whoop, don't want to lose that. Tried pulling that back to be able to access the bolts in the exhaust manifold, and just couldn't get them. And thought maybe we could wiggle this, but there's hardly any room to wiggle it and break the metal around the bolt here. So decided to try to pull the head out with the exhaust manifold attached. And once we got that lower brace broke free, it actually wasn't too bad. We pried it up and kind of wiggled it a little bit, and there's plenty of room to pull that exhaust manifold out of there. It's not a real big manifold, so it worked out pretty good. We'd pulled the cams out earlier. So what we're going to do is now that I have it out of the car, we'll set this up on the bench, and we'll probably take the torch and torch the head of that bolt off, and then we'll be able to get the exhaust manifold off, and then we'll very carefully number the lifters so that they can go back in the same spot. And then this head has to be broken down. We want to pull the valves out of it, and we're going to clean the valves up in there a little bit, and then we'll lap those in. And if you're a fan of the channel, there's an old video on how we lap the valves in. So we're going to do that, and then we'll reassemble the head with some new valve stem seals. After that, we got to get in here, and the oil pan has to be dropped, and the oil pump pickup has to be removed, and the rods and piston assemblies will have to come out. We'll number those, of course, so they go right back in the same hole. And then we're going to put a new set of rings in it, and we're going to hone the cylinders with the motor in the car. We got a hone, and we'll use a cordless drill. And what we do is, the crankshaft, it's a flat plane crank. It's got 2 up and 2 down. What we'll do is we'll turn the crank over until the throws are at the bottom of the stroke, and then we'll shove rags down in there, and then we'll clean the cylinders real good, and just use some WD-40 and our hone and go up and down in each one of the cylinders. And they actually look pretty good. You can still see the crosshatch on there from the factory, which is nice. Hopefully that's coming through real good. So that's a good sign. But these motors had a design flaw where there wasn't enough oil drain back holes in the piston to let the oil drain back off the piston. And what would happen is they'd get carboned up, especially if you didn't change the oil regularly. But they would get carboned up, and then that would gradually work its way up the piston and seize all the rings, and then oil would just come up through up past the rings into the combustion chambers. And this thing was drinking oil. So it doesn't look too bad on the top of the pistons, though. I mean, you can see it's been burning some oil, but it's nothing crazy. So I don't know I don't know where all the oil was going, but we'll get it all tore apart and we'll hone the cylinders. Just give it a quick, fresh little hone there, and then we'll have to reassemble everything with some new rod bearings, and then we'll put the head back on, an exhaust manifold. We're going to put a side exit exhaust on it. I think for right now we're just going to use the factory pipe cut off behind the resonator until we get it together and run it for a little bit and make sure that the oil burning is stopped. We might get a few puffs, but we want to make sure most of the oil burning is stopped. And then what else? Yeah, and then once we confirm that, then we'll start stripping out the rest of the car. I don't want to get too much into it as far as time, because if there's something wrong with the motor, like there's a crack or something like that we didn't see or didn't account for, we're not gonna try and fix it. We'll just end up junking the car. The whole car will go to the scrapyard. But I'm hoping that we can fix that oil burning issue. And after that, then we're going to spend some time on the car. We'll strip all the glass out of it and the trim, and we have to get the sunroof out of it. We'll cover that with a piece of sheet aluminum, and we're not going to do any time lapses on this. What I'm going to do is do the work, and then I'll kind of go over everything as far as what was involved. Pulling the head off of these is pretty easy. You got to get the alternator off. They're really easy to work on. It might look intimidating with all the tubes and everything, but they are pretty easy to work on. And then, of course, you can take pictures of it. Nowadays, we got digital cameras, so you can take pictures of it and then put everything back. And then if we look back here in the back of the car, we have your intake manifold, and we left the bolt in the alternator, things like that. That'll help you out. The bolts for the throttle body are specific to that. And of course over here we got the variable valve timing solenoid, and these are factory. They're not a VTEC, but they just changed the phasing on the intake cam on these. And this is the cam position sensor. You see we kept the bolt with that, kept that bolt with that. This is the filter for the variable valve timing setup, and this is your timing chain tensioner. And we've already compressed this, and then you swing this little arm over, and once you get that back in, you just kind of pry on the chain guide, and it pushes this in a little bit, and then this springs off, and this will push out, and then oil pressure will keep it their tension on the timing chain guide. So yeah, we're doing good. And then of course we got the air intake stuff, and we had to remove the battery, and all that stuff's real basic. It's real easy. So if you're looking to do one of these, it's not too bad. We got the bolts for the intake. They're still with it. So we kind of know where everything goes. We got the nuts for the throttle body and the bolts and everything. We left that there so we can keep track of it. And some of the hoses here, they're kind of pre-molded, so they kind of go back, where they were originally. Same way with this. This is a system where it pumps coolant through the throttle body to keep it from icing up in the winter. We're going to retain that just because it's simpler than trying to bypass it. So it looks kind of like a Hydra here with all these legs and everything, but everything's preformed, and it will kind of snake back to where it was originally. So it's all this stuff is pretty easy. So if you're trying to maybe do one of these or planning on doing one, don't be afraid. You can just plan it out a little bit, take some pictures. I took a couple pictures earlier, but even the wiring harness, if we look at the wiring harness, you can see how the coils here, they really can only go to one. You can't really mix and match them because they're designed to go in a row. Same way with the injectors. This one here can really only reach this first injector. That can reach the second one, and then we get the third and fourth injector there. So it's real easy. So if you're thinking about doing this kind of stuff, give it a go. Give it a go. Don't be afraid. Have some fun, and go ahead and hit the. My hands are dirty. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe down below, and we'll see you in the next video.